Am Mother is a sci-fi original film that came on Netflix a few months ago. I'm very late getting to it, but I actually didn't even know this movie existed. The film is directed by Grant Spator, or Sputor, I think. I can't remember how to pronounce it, but it's Grant Spator, and it stars Rose Byrne, stars Clara Rugard, stars Hilary Swank. The movie joins a list of other sci-fi slash action movies that have the I Am in the name. Obviously, we remember I, Robot, I Am Legend. Okay, off the top of my head, those are the only two I can remember, but I'm sure there's plenty more out there. In fact, in the comment section, let me know how many more movies start with I Am in the title. About 38 years before the beginning of this movie, there was some kind of extinction level event that leveled the entire planet. Human beings are basically now an endangered species. Most of this movie takes place inside this special bunker, and it features this robot voiced by Rose Byrne taking care of this young girl, whose name in the movie we're only told is Daughter. This android, she raises her. She teaches her everything. She feeds her. She protects her. She teaches her everything she needs to know about life in general. Like, she's basically raising this girl up since she was a baby. And then one day they're visited in the bunker by some strange outside visitor, and this changes everything. It changes the perception about the outside world, and it creates a much more dangerous situation for all three of them than any of them envisioned. That's really all I want to say about this movie. I know that it's been out for a few months on Netflix. I don't know how many people actually got a chance to see this movie. I figured I would spoil something, but then I decided, nah, let me show some restraint here. As soon as I saw this movie, I knew that I needed to talk about it. So without further ado, let's get into it. I love sci-fi. Like, I absolutely love sci-fi. Sci-fi, I'm not sure if anybody asked me this before. I think it was on my 800 sub video. Somebody asked me what my favorite genre is outside of like superhero films or whatever, and I was just like, oh, sci-fi, easily. Sci-fi is my absolute favorite genre. There's a whole bunch of different sub-genres within the genre itself. Like, there's sci-fi action, and then there's sci-fi drama, there's sci-fi horror. The best sci-fi to me is the sci-fi that makes you think. It's a genre that takes a look at humanity and mankind, the world, life in general, space. Like, it takes a look at all of that, and it packages it in a movie where you can look at it and it makes you think beyond the surface level. That to me is what sci-fi at its core is supposed to do. It's supposed to challenge our very perception of being human. In this movie, I would classify it as a slow burn, not a thriller, but I would also classify it as thinking man sci-fi. Granted, this movie does juggle a lot of ideas and concepts that we have seen before in sci-fi. A movie can be cliche, a movie can have cliched ideas. It's all about the execution. It's all about how well the filmmaking is, how much energy and passion is put into it. If they recognize the best things that work about cliches, and then they execute it at a high level, well, then at that point the cliches cease to become a huge deal with me. You know what I'm saying? And I think I would classify this movie as that. I gotta start with the performances. Clara Rugard, she was terrific in this movie. She started off a little bit wooden, I'm not gonna lie. The longer the movie went on, the more enamored and the more engaged with her performance I became. She has to show a lot of vulnerability in this movie. A lot of discovery with her character too, because she's been raised in this bunker with this robot her whole life, and there's a lot that she doesn't know. And I like the fact that she was able to blend such strength, such emotion, and such vulnerability all in one performance. That's what you look for in a good protagonist. I can't say that I've ever seen her in anything. When I first saw her, I was like, holy shit, that looks like a younger Hilary Swank. Of course, Hilary Swank ends up being in this movie, and I was just like, that's, wow, okay, that just makes perfect sense. Hilary Swank is a really talented actress, an underrated actress, I feel like. She obviously is really good in this movie too, but Rose Byrne, to me, kind of stole the show. Rose Byrne, from an acting perspective, really brought it, to the point that I didn't even recognize that that was Rose Byrne at first. One thing that was key to her performance in this one is that even though she was playing a robot, she was still able to convey enough humanity in that voice to get you to feel something for the robot, and because of that, you also feel for this relationship. In fact, without the relationship between the robot and the girl in this movie, I'm pretty sure the movie doesn't even work. The thing I gotta call this movie out for is amazing production design. Seriously, I don't know what the budget for this movie is, but this looks better than a lot of other movies I've seen. There is such a sleekness and a beauty and an attention to detail to the production value in this movie. The sets, everything inside this bunker. Also love the cinematography for this one. Features some really great wide shots, and also I love the lighting in this movie. I love the fact that they're able to do great contrast between shadows in the bunker and then some of the stuff that goes on outside the bunker in the outside world. Visually speaking, I just gotta say this movie was a good looking movie. I thought I'd point that out for you guys. The movie definitely does deal with some themes and some ideas about humanity, about nature versus nurture, and about human destruction, like the self-destruct quality that humans have. What is it that makes a human? What is it that makes a good, solid human being, both morally and ethically? This movie definitely goes after those ideas, captured through the lens of this relationship with Rose Byrne's character, this cyborg named Mother, and the daughter that she's been raising for her entire life inside this bunker. If there is something that you can fault about this movie, it is the fact that it is overly familiar, and I feel like that's going to turn a lot of people off. A lot of the ideas and concepts and themes in this movie you've seen before. In fact, I would say my biggest problem with this movie is that it is a little bit too derivative at times. This movie borrows heavily from other sci-fi films that came before it. It borrows heavily heavily in terms of aesthetics, in terms of style, in terms of ideas. So many moments in this movie that feel like they're blurring the line between paying homage and also ripping it off. Like, there's definitely some Oblivion in this movie. There's a little bit of Matrix. There's a little bit of Terminator. I saw this one like machine that's flying overhead and I was just like, okay, this is clearly Terminator, just an alternate universe version of Terminator. Outside of that, I do think that narratively speaking, the movie kind of showed its hand a little bit too early, and as a result, there are some parts in this movie that are going to be predictable. Like, you're going to be able to see the other shoe before it drops. Having said that, it's all about the execution. Like I said earlier, I think this movie had high-level execution, and a twist at the end that is the only thing in the movie that I really didn't see coming. I Am Mother was a really solid sci-fi movie on Netflix, and I'm gonna put this one in the Silver Age for Man of Steel. That's a solid 4 out of 5 for me. I really like this movie. I would recommend this movie to anybody that's a big sci-fi buff. Alright guys, those are my thoughts on I Am Mother. You heard this question at the beginning of the video. How many movie titles are out there that have I Am in the title? I'm sure that there's plenty that I'm not thinking of. Put that in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel.